We're going to talk about hitting a parked car. You can't do that. The most common thing I hear as a claim handler is they were parked illegally. So I'm not at fault. That really doesn't have a lot to do with it, simply for the fact that you should have look out on your vehicle at all times. You should be able to keep control of your vehicle. And if you can't get into an area without hitting another vehicle, then you shouldn't do it. You should find another way to get where you want to go. I did have a scenario where a commercial truck was in New York City. They were trying to make a shipment to a drugstore, and they hit the mirror of somebody. The first thing I heard was they were parked illegally. I was like, okay, well, let me take a look at the dash cam. So I took a look at the dash cam, and there were 25 cars that were lined up right outside the CVS. It was a busy street. The owner had taken the concrete trash cans, moved them so there was a little parking area. People would pull up. They would go and get whatever they needed from the drugstore and then come back and drive off, not really park. He did have a point. The other person did take the assumption of risk when they parked illegally. But, you know, as a claim handler, I'm also looking at the exposure. He hit a car with two people in it. So I have an exposure they could be injured. I did take a look at the databases that insurance companies have access to. And this person did have about 5 or 6 previous claims within the last couple of years of being struck when they were parked. So, you know, this wasn't a big surprise to them that their mirror was damaged. I talked to him, no injuries, and I was able to, you know, I paid it. I think the estimate came to something like $800. I added a couple $100 for loss of use, and I got a general release. That releases me from bodily injury as well as from property damage, and everything was good. But a lot of people, you know, when they get into accidents, you know, you should really let your claim handler decide whether you're at fault or not. You're not licensed. You know, I'm aware of the different laws in different areas. You know, so basically, whenever you hit the parked car, you will have negligence. You know, if there's somebody in there, then there is that exposure of injury. And companies make business decisions. If, in my scenario, if somebody had been injured, I'd probably try to make a first call settlement, maybe $500, maybe $1,000 a piece. In the exposure, it would be a good deal for me. So just be aware that if you are in an area where people are parked illegally and you feel like you can't squeeze through, or you feel like you can squeeze through but you can't, don't go there. I mean, it's just simple. You know, pay attention to your surroundings. Let's not get into accidents. Anytime there's contact between one vehicle and the other, there's a possibility of further exposure for you. If you only have liability insurance, that's something you need to consider. Usually a lot of people will get liability insurance for the policy for the state limits, which are very low. If you hit a parked car, you know, there's injuries, you know, you total the car, it very well could go over your policy limits, and then you would be personally responsible. And also, if you're not insured, if you have elected to drive without insurance, or if you're not a permissible driver in the owner's insurance policy, or you're doing an excluded activity, then you could be personally responsible for the damage, and they can go after your personal assets. So it's always good just to, you know, if you feel like there's a risk in doing something with your vehicle, just don't do it. So anyway, I hope this helps.